Mario and Luigi was a series I played a lot of growing up. Specifically Superstar Saga, Partners in Time, and Bowser's Inside Story. I'm pretty sure my Partners in Time cartridge only sometimes registered when put in my DS from sheer overplay. I owned that copy before Bowser's Inside Story came out. I've been a fan that long. So when the series started dying on the 3DS with Take Your Pick, leading up to the developer, Alpha Dreams, bankruptcy, I was very neutral about it. This remake pissed me off. So I stopped caring about this series. And I'm the type to let a game series rest if it's clear they're gone. I went along with my life. It's not like the series went out with a bang. It went out with remakes that make me sad. But then something incredible happened. The Nintendo Direct of the 18th of June 2024 happened, and the very first thing they showed was a brand new Mario and Luigi game. And let me tell you, I was in tears. Because I was incredibly sad. Because I had a panic attack, I think. I am not elaborating. And now I have the urge to talk about the Mario and Luigi villains. I do wanna preface this that I'm purely going off on memory. Because I don't have the will to rewatch/replay this series while I have trouble enjoying things, and that clashes terribly in a fandom that's very happy right now. Again, I'm not elaborating, and I'd prefer it if you don't try to think about what that says about my character. That's just rude and it's none of your business. Just know I'm working on a flawed system here. This is just me reminiscing. And maybe you can have some fun seeing how correct I am or not. I haven't played the non-remake games since 2015 or 2016 probably. And if I see info that corrects me on Mario Wiki, at best I'm only inserting some text. So for those new to Mario and Luigi, please take things with a grain of salt. I'd rather you form your own opinions. Spoilers ahead. If you've been curious about playing these games, then do so. All Mario and Luigi games are great. And if one is lesser than the others, that doesn't change that fact they are worth your time. Let's start with Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. Let's talk about my favorite villain. One I think is the most intriguing, and you've seen a YouTube video before. It's not this guy. I'll talk about him later. It's Cackletta. Cackletta from Superstar Saga is my favorite one-off villain in possibly all of Mario. She's more or less the Bean Kingdom's Bowser. But, functionally, her and her underling, Fawful, are an evil Mario and Luigi. Except instead of acrobatic plumbers, they're magic and science. This is what gets me about Cackletta. She does not have an army, she doesn't even have Goombas, all she really has is Fawful. And together they are a formidable team. But they are still only two people. This is why they terrorized a university so they could experiment in peace. Transforming the people that didn't escape into monsters. Because they are on their own and need to terrorize a place more akin to a Scooby-Doo villain rather than swarming it with mooks. Terrorism on a budget. Cackletta's goal is a wish-granting MacGuffin after all. Something Bowser theoretically doesn't need because his army could conceivably get what he wants. The Mario brothers and Cackletta are pretty much on a similar playing ground throughout most of the game. They outwit each other a lot, whether by accident or not. Heck, the Bean royal family has a leg up on both, frankly. Putting her effectively on the same ground of threat as Mario and Luigi himself gives her a different vibe from other villains of the week the series has had. Her not being the leader of some kind of syndicate creates more intrigue. She inherently has to work more towards her goals. And I think she's just cool. That laugh. She's so distinctive and hateable, yet cool because she's not flawless. And then she gets Bowser's army. Thinking about it, I think Superstar Saga's remake's side mode also understood Cackletta is only so much itself. They did need Bowser's body to turn the tide majorly. Fawful meanwhile was making his own army behind her back. Also thinking about it, maybe she subconsciously influenced my avatar here. You can see it, right? At least how the cape is drawn here by default. But that's enough about her. This is Popple. I don't have much to say about Popple. He's a gas. He's just a humongously entertaining crook and a wonderful sight to see in the game. All I'll say is that I wish he did more in Dream Team. Or more of the series, frankly. But I think he's in the perfect amount. This is Tolstar, and for people in the know. This is an odd pick for this video, I'm aware. But I just wanna talk about this guy who can't be in more than 1/20th all of Superstar Saga. He's just there to gatekeep progress as he guards the border between the Mushroom and Bean Kingdoms, effectively being an elaborate tutorial for how coins are earned in RPGs. Which is a curious thing to teach like they do. It might be more about setting up the fact exchange rate jokes are gonna be a thing in this game and having an area to explore. He's keeping Bowser ransom, that asshole. And then for some reason I don't exactly remember, a fight ensues, and he has some delicious expressions. After the fight, Mario and Luigi progress and then Knights of the Bean Kingdom apprehend them. And then a prapor of nothing. Tolstar, still horribly beaten up from the scuffle with the brothers, flies in, vouches for them that they're legit, and flies off. Never to be seen again. The game has barely started. I have so many questions, and that's why I have way more to say about this bit player than I do Popple. Whatever Tolstar's reason was to fight the brothers, it wasn't worth fighting over. And Tolstar is an asshole. But then he vouches for the brothers just because it's the right thing to do ? If that's the case, he did it for no benefit of his own. Is he the royalty appointed toll booth manager? I've always assumed he was a self-appointed one, but I don't think it's outright stated either way. If so, did he suddenly care about doing his job right? I have so many questions and I'll never have them. I don't think this is a flaw. Not knowing is fun. That's all for Superstar Saga. On to the villains of Partners in Time.
What about Fawful?
When do you think? On to the villains of Partners in Time. So Partners in Time is often considered the weakest game in the series. I don't know if that still holds any water with Dream Team Brothers and Paper Jam in the conversation. But whatever is the weakest is its only weakest by default, because all these games are great. But I digress. Last I was in the fan base, I think the Shroobs, the antagonist faction of the game, were similarly viewed as weak. But don't quote me on that, but they're certainly not held in super high opinion despite not really doing anything wrong. They're just an invasive species that love destruction. They effectively dance to your death in their shared telegraphs. There isn't that much nuance to them. To me, I don't think people aren't seeing the forest for the trees. Usually with an enemy army, like Bowser, the leader is the figurehead and what you should focus on. The embodiment of the enemy faction. The Shroobs have a leader, but she's not compelling on her own. And her older sister only mildly more. They're nothing special. But that's the thing. The real star of the show is all of them. All of the Shroobs. Individually, there's not much to say about them, but as a whole, oh boy, there's a ton. My friend Fred, better known as Warlander from the Wario franchise appreciation blog, asked me if he could write a bit for this. And I agreed.
A thing about the Shroobs I find remarkable is that they are counterparts to the main Mario cast. The parallels are obvious. The regular Shroobs are the Toads. The younger and elder Shrooboids are Luigi and Mario. Yoob is Yoshi, Shroobsworth is Toadsworth, Princess Shroob is Peach, and we got several mooks with Shroob counterparts too. While evil counterparts are a common trope, this makes the Shroobs the first enemy species to have so many of the main cast that serve as a corrupted take on them. The Toads are a friendly species never out for anything bad. The Shroobs are destructive and sadistic, abducting their Mushroom Kingdom counterparts to suck out their very life force for their goals. Toads are peaceful residents, often victims to invaders. The Shroobs are the invaders. Yoshis are heroic and, while certainly in love with eating things like eating enemies, is shown with a gameplay intent for good causes. Yoob just mindlessly eats whatever it finds, and its victims are turned into eggs to power and sustain it. Princess Peach is a benevolent ruler who runs a peaceful kingdom. Princess Shroob, while never shown abusing her minions, rules an evil alien race who no doubt played a big part in bringing their own planet to ruin and invades the Mushroom Kingdom to make it a new home that would no doubt meet a similar fate. The Shrooboids don't have much in big parallels to the brothers, but Shroobsworth mimics the brothers' and babies' teamwork. Only difference is the callousness shown when the young intern Shroob knocks the unconscious Shroobsworth off screen. Elder Princess Shroob with her hulking frame and brute force can be seen as the Bowser, and while Bowser is shown to still treat his troops well, Elder Princess Shroob openly disregards hers and treats them as cannon fodder. The Shroobs turn things we recognize from the Mario cast and corrupt them into something sinister, and that plays a big part in Partners in Time's surprising darkness.
Yup. I agree with all of that. Even made me think of things I never did before. Because reading this, yeah, Yoob's pretty mindless compared to all the other Shroobs. Never consciously noticed that. And that's pretty terrifying in of itself. The Shroobs destroy because that's just their favorite word, and that's not exaggeration. But you just want food, and you just don't care because it just doesn't have the capacity to. Having just typed that, I'd say if the Shroobs as a whole even have the capacity to care. But this leads into the next section really nicely. These are the leaders of the Shroobs, Princess Shroob and Princess Shroob. They have no unique names, and that's a little annoying, so everyone calls them younger and elder Princess Shroob, so for short let's call them YPS and EPS respectively. Early in the game, off-screen, Peach has had an encounter with the alien princesses. So Peach, being a magical girl, sealed away EPS, the stronger one, into the Cobalt Star and split it in two pieces so EPS is out of the picture. It only helps so much. YPS isn't a powerhouse but is still a very formidable and a competent leader. This ties into caring because YPS and the army don't bother to reassemble EPS, but EPS is really upset YPS is killed. But also, as Fred said, YPS doesn't abuse the minions as far as we know, yet EPS shows callous disregard. There's a story here that's not told and that's awesome. And it shows on some level Shroobs can care. But the fact destruction is what they default to. What seems like an one-note group of villains actually have a lot to them, whether intended or not. This is what game analysis can do to a game. And by game, I mean, you get more out of a game, and all you have to do is open your mind a little. The less things to be annoyed, underwhelmed, or disappointed by the better. But also recognize some stuff might not be intentional. But maybe it is. Temper expectations a little. But don't over-temper them. Also, don't expect Partners in Time or any of these games to be anything more than a fun adventure in practice. These are all spices you need to add yourself as you go on. I'm almost done talking about Partners in Time. Have an anecdote. When I played Partners in Time for the first time, I was an English illiterate kid. My language wasn't a supported option yet in Nintendo games. I could just merely vaguely understand it since English is a sister language. As a result, I thought YPS and EPS were the same person, again, because they had the same name. So I didn't know YPS was calling for EPS here. I thought YPS was calling Peach her sister. I was so confused. Honestly, I kinda wanna cut the video short here. Because I've made all the points I wanna make. But I'll go on one game longer. I've already foreshadowed something. I'll add him now because going back and rewriting it by inserting him back in the Superstar Saga portion wouldn't change the length that much anyways. But what will change the length is this portion I'm adding during editing right now. Hello, I'm the postscript version of myself and the editor. And during this section I had to look at the Mario wiki page for Shroob a lot. And the trivia page caught my eye. The Shroobs may have been directly inspired by the Martians from the War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells, an alien invasion novel where many of the genre's tropes originate from, and my first thought was, wow. That is a killer inspiration. Especially for a kid's game. My second thought was, this is a kid's game. A Mario one specifically. So not really a kid's game, a game anyone can enjoy. Including kids. When's the last time you've seen a piece of kids family media tackle an alien invasion for the terror that it is? Because while the Shroobs have goofy moments, they are the ultimate invaders of all of Mario. They're total outsiders, we don't understand their language, only EPS seems to have a grasp on ours because she traveled with Mario and Luigi. And they do not give a shit about our mortality. They are destroyers. They are absolutely ruthless and heartless, unlike anything else in Mario. And it's awesome. Why don't other kid-friendly franchises do this? I can't recall anything off top of my head. Shadow the Hedgehog did something similar that same year, but I don't feel it as much. And saying Shadow the Hedgehog is a kid-friendly game is like saying the Star Wars prequels are kid-friendly. I wanna say Elite Beat Agents, Despite the PG-12 rating, kinda portrayed an alien invasion as a sucky thing it is in a real way, even if those are more occupiers than they are destroyers. Even if the solution is goofy as hell. But so is Partners in Time's solution. Isn't this why we like Castlevania or Scooby-Doo? Something that's spooky themed but not too spooky? Here's an open letter to developers. Please consider an alien invasion plot if you have a place for one. And treat the enemies as the terror they are. But don't be afraid to get a little goofy. The Shroobs are pretty terrifying, but here's one of their high rankers asking the crowd which bro to attack, and here's a scuba diver in the sand. They still drain the life essence of toads. Alien invasion plots are so tropey at this point, so much you barely see them played straight anymore. So they gotta feel new again, right? So anyway, I'm done. Back to adventure. So let's talk about Bowser's inside story. So you know what that means. Oh shit, I want to give them Fawful now, but there's Midbus to consider. Do I double fake them out and give them Fawful now or talk about Midbus, leaving what they want for last? This is Midbus. And just like Popple, I don't have much to say about him. Midbus is amazing when he's on screen. He's mainly Bowser's rival, but instead of being a king, he's an underling. And he's really cool, but I wish he popped up more. He's there to tutorialize Bowser's dodge command, which is hardly a real fight. He 6 Bowser's castle on Bowser. He fights Bowser in person. He 6 Junker on Mario and Luigi. And he becomes Blizzard Midbus to contrast Bowser's fire, and I think he dies? Yeah, not much to say. I could be missing stuff. I'm not the type to ask for engagement, but if you have any insight on a character you feel I've undersold, let me politely know in the comments. Boss time. Fawful. Yup. I'll be honest, I'm not gonna pretend I share the same excitement over him like so many others do. I'll sing his praises in a moment, but as big a fan favorite as he is, I think he's massively overrated. And I mean that in the sense he's talked about to the rest of the series' detriment. His fame sometimes just seems to precede the Mario and Luigi games. A lot of people are introduced to this sub-series through this guy who's effectively just in 2 games through mentions, fan art, Smash Brothers and Mario Kart requests. He talks inherently kinda funny, is a goofy guy who's a threat. Mustard. This is what people will generally first learn about. And while I can't speak for something I haven't experienced, I gotta imagine that's gotta result in nothing more than a shrug from outsiders, right? Fawful's not really a selling point. A selling point to me looks more like Mario and Luigi is a decent entry point for people who think they'd hate turn-based RPGs. It's mostly all reactionary based. The most exciting parts of the game is that you have the ability to counter, avoid, or negate the enemy's attacks on the enemy's turn. You're always active, and short-term waiting always has its reward. This is a pet peeve of mine. I never really see Mario and Luigi fans articulate what makes these games fun, and instead just parade Fawful around like that means anything to someone not in the know. Some fans don't even seem to like the majority of the games. Conveniently the ones where Fawful isn't a main player. I do legit get kinda petty over all of this, though hopefully you can see not without merit. That said, Fawful's really neat. In Superstar Saga he was Cackletta's little minion, and I think in some ways she relies on Fawful. Here's a list of things Cackletta couldn't have done without Fawful's help. Steal Peach's voice. This awesome hover car probably. The Peach bots. And Cackletta's survival for later possession. This is not to downplay Cackletta's achievements. I think the transformation of Queen Bean is her doing, as is her transforming people into monsters in general. What one can't achieve with magic the other can solve with technology, and vice versa. They're effectively equals. But they sure don't see each other like that. Fawful is officially Cackletta's pupil, and Fawful means to betray Cackletta eventually. But he technically doesn't get the chance to because the brother slapped Fawful silly and exorcised Cackletta's soul. Then a few years pass and Fawful made a surprise reappearance in Partners in Time. He set up a shop in the sewers of Peach's castle. For rats, I presume. He doesn't recognize the Mario brothers because they are pooping their diapers, so he'll sell stuff to them for beans. Literal beans. He shows ambition and is obviously planning something. He even shows us a new form similar to the one he had in Superstar Saga that looks spiffy and he'll never use ever. And that's all for Partners in Time. Again. Before I go straight into Bowser's inside story, I want it to be known that Fawful's popularity didn't just come from his appearance in Bowser's inside story. I should know, I remember being into Mario and Luigi before Bowser's inside story got released. And Fawful was a favorite even then. So you can imagine how excited fans were when they saw a character come back from a game they like. And I'll be real. It didn't disappoint. I wish Cackletta got a vague mention. But that's it. Something the remake kinda sorta addressed. Fawful is a gas, and usually a show stealer when on screen, which is a high honor because he made enemies with freaking Bowser. I don't remember what exactly Fawful's main goal in the game is. I know it involves the Dark Star. Up until this point in the script I legit forgot the Dark Star was a thing, and I feel embarrassed, because I think this thing's a great villain in its own right. But less on that later. Let's get back on point. While I don't remember what Fawful's ultimate goal is, I don't think that really matters. Because Fawful does whatever he feels like at the moment. Takes over Bowser's castle and brainwashes his minions. Puts on a literal show there, making everyone fat, adding nuts to statues. I struggle to think how most things tie into Fawful's plan besides digging a tunnel and extracting Peach from Bowser's body. This guy might be a little attention deficit, I'm not sure. But I'm definitely sure he's off his leash, and I mean that less metaphorically than you may think. Because Cackletta, and therefore Fawful, wasn't as frivolous, everything Cackletta did was directly in service of her plans. She was more organized. This fascinates me when it comes to Fawful solo. But then again, Fawful did secure Bowser's army, so isn't just him and Midbus unlike him and Cackletta. He has more power to sway, and therefore more freedom for doing useless stuff. My memory kinda blanks on what he did as Dark Fawful though. But that's fine, it's amazing I remember as much as I do. I will admit, I am smiling and laughing. So I am coming around to Fawful as this script is being put together, remembering why I like him too, even if I still stand by that Cackletta and the Shroobs are more interesting to me. But really, Cackletta and Fawful make each other interesting to me. Even as late as Bowser's inside story when the former's dead. It's just he gets a lion's share of love from the fans, fan art, Smash Brothers and Mario Kart requests, talks of Mario and Luigi RPGs as a whole. It just annoys me. Fawful is great, but I don't think Fawful is a shorthand for the Mario and Luigi series. In the same way I don't think the common perception of Geno isn't a shorthand for the comedy that is Super Mario RPG. There's one last character I wanna talk about, or more specifically I'm not gonna. The Dark Star. I'm gonna cop out on this one. I got thoughts about them similar like I do about Tolstar, but I kinda wanna hear what you, the commenters, have to say about it, if anything. Don't wait on others like me to make interesting observations. Share, or write fanfiction or something. But if you wanna read more like this, go read Fred/Werelander's essay on Bowser's character in Mario and Luigi. You can find it in the description and pinned comment. Thank you for watching. If this is your first time watching this video in particular, I'd appreciate it if you'll stick around until the end. Everything I've written here is basically done so I have something to do when my doctors wanted me to go without antidepressants for a while. That's why I had that panic attack. The next day after this first draft and spell check is done, I'll ask to have them again because I can't fucking live like this. Who the fuck has panic attacks over the best Nintendo Direct ever? It sounds so laughable and hyperbolic, but it's true. Watching good announcement after good announcement and dreading hearing absolutely everyone airing out their positive feelings on everything when you can't feel any.
I feel like a man dying of thirst watching another man drown.
And you can't be open about it lest you become the buzz killer and the bad guy when there is no bad guy. You're just suffering, and being open about it makes it worse because nobody wants to hear about your suffering. They have video games to be happy about. Not that I wanna make them sad anyways. That's a dick move, but also what am I supposed to do? Only telling you this because I'm actually doing okay as of writing this. and I'll likely be on antidepressants again by the time this is uploaded, while editing even. And maybe you can take a lesson from this. Maybe it can help someone watching this. If you can, don't spend your days needlessly depressed if possible. Okay, now here's boy doing a flip. I also have a Ko-fi in case you wanna give me a general tip or donation for my videos, or if you wanna help me afford personal projects. Personal projects like Buddies Pals. This is my web novel about a girl that moved into a new town for some unknown reason and makes new friends. She feels the need to help. I don't wanna say more than I've already said other than that Buddy is a friend. The art costs money, but I can't imagine the project without it. They're wonderful. Blue Demon Story. This is my video fanfiction of Puyo Puyo / Madame Monogatari. It's edited in the style of old PC dungeon crawling games. But what sucks about it is sometimes I gotta pay some amazing people to make me some assets. But it's all gonna be worth it in the end. This is a story I wanna tell, and my friends can tell I'm putting my heart into this. It's still just a work in progress right now, but I can't wait to share it. My videos in general. I mostly do Puyo Puyo, but I, on paper, do what I want. And maybe more things like this. But no promises. Talk pieces aren't my thing. I've made more for other people than for me, and I felt I needed to make them rather than me actually wanting me to. Donate money responsibly. I will make a follow-up video someday. Trust me, I didn't stop at Bowser's Inside Story because I think the other games are lesser. And I have high opinions on Antasma, and Paper Jam is one of my favorite games in this series and one of the best Mario RPGs in general. But I think I've made the points I wanted to make with these villains here. We'll see when we revisit this. Likely when Mario and Luigi Brothership has been out a while. Maybe the villains there will bring a lot to the table. Thanks for watching. I'm off to make more stuff my regular subscribers want me to make. If you don't leave me alone within the next minute, I shall raise my right arm to telegraph to the person on my right I'm about to throw a bolt of lightning at them, so they better jump to dodge it. Bye. Hello, editor me again. Making this video I kinda remembered how much I care for Mario and Luigi. And how those remakes and depression made me forget. As the video went on, I'm more and more looking forward to Brothership. Happily.